So, I guess welcome to this weekly town hall. It's a new initiative. Just for context, for the ones viewing on YouTube, it's a new initiative from the Open Neuromorphic community. We try to collect some of the events that's happening. The executive committee, represented here by Danny, Justin, and I, are working hard uh, to push for new initiatives, to increase the activity in the open neuromorphic community, but also to solve some of the problems that we've identified and we heard from the community deserve some attention. So, Danny and Justin, you were both there for the last week's first town hall, which was not recorded, unfortunately, but maybe it's worthwhile to repeat some of the points that was made there.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to go ahead if you're ready. Um, so a couple things kind of on the docket. A lot of cool developments. This is our first one, so we have kind of a nice backlog of news to share. So the first one I think is our release of or sort of our pre-release of the Open Neuromorphic Research Initiative. So this is an initiative that we are looking forward to that really kind of furthers our goal of consolidating and sort of creating a centralized sort of locus of critical analysis for research and open source research in the field of neuromorphic computing. So in terms of timeline here, we envision sort of releasing our first call for papers in the next few weeks or so. Then we'll be able to start sort of receiving submissions. In terms of details, this is going to be hosted on a site called Open Review, which is basically a service for sending out kind of open source submission venues. I think NeurIPS also uses the same tool.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So that's something that we're super excited about. We have had
Really
a
cool.
few. What's up?
It's really cool. I think it's a wonderful initiative, right? It's our own little journal.
Yeah. So no, this is like something that I think we have imagined this being kind of like a flagship initiative for the community. And not only does this sort of serve itself, but it's also a really cool beachhead into some future initiatives. Once we start involving funding and things like that, then it'll be a really powerful tool for kind of furthering our mission of promoting open source research in the community. So that's something that we're really amped about. We've had a few reviewer volunteers, so thank you to you guys if you're on here. We're psyched to have you guys on board as well. So all around really excited there. That kind of dovetails into another thing that we've been working on, which is looking for fiscal sponsorship for the open neuromorphic community. So what that means is, so in order to hold money as a community, you need to form a legal entity. So normally what that would look like, at least in the United States, is creating something called a 501c3, which is basically a tax-exempt nonprofit organization. That's a very difficult task, especially with sort of such a small group. It can be expensive. It involves legal costs. It involves a lot of time and paperwork. So a model that a lot of sort of early stage nonprofits employ is something called fiscal sponsorship, where essentially they create a relationship with an external 501c3 that acts as a wrapper, kind of, and then that external organization will act as sort of the legal entity, and they will be able to manage funds. So we have been in conversation with two organizations. One is Open Science Hardware Foundation, and the other is NumFocus. Both are really well well-established members in the field. So we're really excited to be, having conversations with both of them. And we think that, kind of opening up this pathway of being able to establish ourselves as a legal entity, both sort of financially and legally, is just a huge stepping stone for furthering our mission. So, that's something that we think is going to be really cool. By the way, Jens and Justin, feel free to chime in, add to that.
I fully agree with what you say. I think what's really cool is that we bring some more oomph to the organization, right? So whether we want to arrange hackathons or give out prizes or do some of these review things, like just having this legality cleared away is necessary. But also, if you want to scale some of the operations, this is really key. And in particular, when we talk about sponsorships, which we might be looking into, I think that's a perfect next step. So one of the recent blog posts we put out talks about the mismatch between the workflow in the deep learning industry, machine learning industry, and the open neuromorphic space. And I think we all agree that there's a discrepancy, right? But bridging that gap just is not free. It's not fair to expect all the master students and PhD students to maintain this infrastructure for free. So we need some kind of consolidated effort, and maybe part of this can be replied or answered by O&M. So excellent and very exciting. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess there's still a few details to figure out, right? So whether we talked about the Open Hardware Foundation, we talked about NumFocus, so there are different places this can go, and I guess the key message is that it doesn't really matter where we end up. So I think we just need to find a community that we connect with and ensure that the legality of things are in order. But most important is that we have these documents stating that we are who we are, and we have rights to then drive a bank account so we can channel funds. That's probably the main message. Would you agree, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even we're talking about intellectual property. So it's just a kind of a litany of pathways that this opens up for us. So again, super exciting. So cool. If do we have any more notes there? I'm happy to move on to another kind of subject of conversation. Cool. So,
I mean, maybe we should just mention that if people have any comments or questions, they can put it in the chat here. We can also pick up the conversation on Discord because this will be recorded. So we will probably continue the discussion on Discord, and I'm sure there's going to be more announcements about this sooner. So I think it's fine maybe just to proceed, and we can always catch up on any issues that might flow in through the comments or later on the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm like I have it up right now. So even if you send a message in general chat right now, I could even respond to it.
Nice, good, you're ready.
Yeah,
so that's the ONR, and that's the fiscal sponsorship.
So another thing that we could also chat about quickly is our Student Talks initiative. So our Student Talks initiative, we had our sort of first installment of like the second season of the latest season a few weeks ago. That was a resounding success. We shout to Ram for administrating that and setting it up. So we're looking forward to future installments of that. I want to pull it up. So well, anyway.
But the thinking is that this is more a venue for academic talks. So we had workshops, right, and big projects mentioned, which is more, I think, of a open and accessible kind of format. And this is where we can then take some research by a student of sorts and then dive really into it, because the author would be there and we can ask questions and really understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And this is a really great opportunity for folks maybe a little earlier in academic or industry careers. This is kind of something that we wanted to cater towards people that weren't necessarily super well established and experienced in neuromorphic, and allowing them to get kind of a foothold and speak and have people discuss their work. So we found that model works really well in the first talk, and so if you're kind of in that group, we'd love to hear from you.
That's a great point. If anyone here have research they want to share, I think they really should. Like partly because, like you said, Danny, it's a great way to become familiar with the whole field. It's a great exercise to present your research. It's a necessary thing in academia. I would argue also in industry, but I think it's also it's a way to pay back to the community. Just by sharing your ideas, right? You also open up the possibility for others to understand what you're working on, right? Really, that's a currency that's helpful for everyone involved. So don't be shy, and again, reach out to us on also our Discord, just if you have some ideas or inkling that you might want to share, and we can guide you through that process. That would be excellent. Haha, that's the hacking hours. Let's talk about the hacking hours.
Yeah, I was going to ask. We have some updates, and you have a sort of a renewed focus for hacking hours. So maybe we could chat about that for a second, and
I think that's
then I can go
yeah.
through some of the other things that we're building out.
Yeah. Do you prefer? Do you want to start, Justin? Or should we take it away?
Well, maybe just to discuss some of the renewed focus that you're giving to hacking hours, and the direction that you're going forward with that would be good to touch on a little bit first, kind of as an introduction.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it it's definitely relevant in the context of this town hall, because that's basically a spin-off, if you will, of these hacking hours. Because um, I enjoy hacking. Honestly, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's just fun to solve problems, a bit like building Lego pieces together, And we had these weekly sessions where I could sit down and code, and it was a lot of fun to sit and chat with people and get in touch with the community. Sorry, but also just solve some problems. And we've actually managed to solve quite some pull requests throughout the past year or so. But I also realized there were two kind of conversations we were having. Of course, there was like the deeply technical, which you have to have when you solve coding problems. It's actually it's can be quite challenging, right? We can get into some very gnarly problems. But there were also communications or talks about what happened to the community. What's going on? What is the executive committee up to? What did the Thor initiative in the U.S. or Spinnaker or Prophecy or whatever community were working on? And that wasn't really a part of the hacking hours. And I realized that sometimes it tended to be more of a coffee shop talk rather than actually sitting and coding. So we thought about this a lot, right? How should we go forward? And this town hall, I think, is a way to have these open communities about what should we do, as a collective, as people who care about similar interests and research. Where should we drive it? What do we plan as the Open Neuromorphic Executive Committee? And importantly, uh, we should be transparent about it, because we might not have the best solutions, right? We have some ideas, and I think the communication that we have with the community is key to delivering some of these things. Just so it doesn't become an echo chamber, a vacuum where we sit and decide everything. And then the hacking hours would then transition to be more of a focused session where we solve focused issues, focused problems, focused libraries, one at a time. And so one of the next steps that I'm working towards now is to then invite people from the different libraries we had in for the infrastructure talk a few weeks ago, and try to take their perspective. Which issues do they want to solve? What are some introduction we can make to their libraries, and then actually, just like we're doing now, record this on streams, and then keep the videos for posterity, because there's a lot of information content as well. Whenever, for instance, Jamie Knight sits and hacks on Gen because he's an expert on Gen, right? And Alexandre Masireux sits and hacks on his neuromorphic drivers for event cameras, or whatever there is, right? There's a lot of information that that I think is very valuable to a lot of people. I know I would have loved to have this when I started my PhD. That would have saved me so many countless nights of debugging stuff until 4 a.m. and then still not working. So the point with the hacking hours then would be to transition to something more, I wouldn't say closed, but a bit more focused. And then we would, instead of having this flat panel on Discord, we would have these streams where people can comment and then interact with us as the stream progresses, essentially. Yeah, I think that's somewhat the setting as I see it. Do you guys agree, Danny, Justin? Anything I missed?
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that you had maintained with the hacking hours was your sort of lists of pull requests, the completed requests, and as you're transitioning this from sort of like an open house, everybody can come in and hang out, hack on things for a little bit, into something that's more focused. We discussed, how do we sort of keep this board of issues going, and what can we do with that, and how can we integrate it into the website. And so seeing, if you kind of look through this, you can see that has been what has sort of led us to build the mission board concept that we're looking at now. And it also contains many of the same ideas on some of these issues. If you look here, I believe you can see the completed pull requests. Then we also include some of the related content on the website, and offer some places for the projects to highlight the issues that are important for them. And so if you look for where a user may come into the website and start exploring, they're going to see these various help wanted signals as soon as they start browsing the software project. And if we go to something like, there it is. Now we can see it'll take them directly to those issues and show them what some of the outstanding issues are on the neuromorphic intermediate representation page itself. And if the user is curious, they can go on and view to the new mission board and see what some of these issues are. And we also allow people to filter on first issues, documentation, enhancements, and different things like that. So
I mean, this is first of all
yeah.
huge, right? This is basically the first announcement of the Open Neuromorphic Strategic Mission Board, which sounds very cool. And like, I think for one, live up to the name, because it is insanely cool, right? You're collating all these resources, and you can really see, you get an overview of what is there in the landscape. So
there you
amazing.
Go. Yeah,
I mean, this has been driven by Justin, right? So great work, Justin. Super cool.
Oh, thank you. And like I said, the inspiration's all right there with the work that you've done on the hacking hours and everything. So this is just a natural step to take it to something that kind of invites more projects into the fold, automates it, and just sort of like kind of makes it so that it's something that everybody sees, that as soon as they get to the site. So
in some sense,
really,
I think this paper trail is really important. Like we want to document why we are there. What do we do, right? I mean, we have all these talks and all these meetings and all these ideas, right? But if you can really track what impact we made, I think that's important, not just for our own sanity's sake, but to be able to communicate the relevance and importance of such a community that we're building. But I also want to say that I think you're taking it a few steps further, right? Because this integration, right? We have the software library. You can see, like you said, you have the page for the neuromorphic intermediate representation, and there will be all these details and links and projects and tags, but that we can relate them then to this mission board. I think is amazing for newcomers to the field when you go like, okay, I have this landscape of stuff. I have no idea what happens, right? But here's an entryway. Here's some things that needs my help. Okay, here's my segue.
Yeah, that's right. And another thing that's cool is that by using the tags and having, content that can be pulled in as good first issue, we can set up a unique page somewhere on the site just for beginners that lists some of the newbie issues with maybe a little bit more hand holding in that page, like in that section of issues we might give a little bit more onboarding support or tell them who they could talk to. But it does allow us to reach all the way from the newbies to people who are veterans and everything. So I'm excited to see how we can signal boost some of the things that are out there and get more collaboration going.
I love that point, because there's always some new library coming out every week or month or so, right? Which I think is amazing, right? But you do wonder whether if we have some place to gather these things around, whether we can collaborate on more things than we are actually doing at the moment. So yeah, that's yet another excellent idea for doing this sort of thing, right? So and then it looks pretty, I have to say, Justin. Like it's just very neat. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to click around. So that's how I know when something's ready to show other people. Is that, you know, I'm sitting there clicking around, just making sure everything feels right, and it does feel good. So I think it's I'm excited to see how it does.
This seems to lead well into our list of kind of volunteer opportunities. Justin, any chance you want to chat through that?
The volunteer opportunities. Let's take a look at that real quick. Now, are you talking about this page here in particular, as far as
yes,
the different roles that we've set up? And yeah, we set this up a little while ago just by looking at some of the things that, you know, are very important to us, but also sometimes get put on the back burner a bit more than we would like, so that we can focus on some of these other important things. So we've looked at, you know, somebody who maybe introduces folks in Discord, somebody who, you know, goes through our documentation. And documentation is such a tricky word, because it sounds like you're writing really technical documentation, and I think sometimes it can just be writing. It should just be creative writing, or like writing, because sometimes it's just the copy that you need on the site, or user-friendly information that's not really directional documentation. So I'm just getting off track a little bit, but when I see documentation contributor, I think a lot of it isn't just the standard like application documentation. Event support volunteer, just somebody who helps coordinate calendars and scheduling and just making sure that we have everything in order there. Hardware and software guide curator, which it sounds like we've talked to somebody and might start seeing some collaboration with them upcoming soon. I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully we can get something going with that, because we can always keep it moving, you know, make the user experience better, improve the content, make it better for users. So I'm excited to see what we can get going with that.
Yeah,
and social media coordinator. What's that?
I was just going to mention we've had a couple of volunteers there. So thank you to those guys. That's super exciting. So, you know, appreciate you guys reaching out to that, and that's cool stuff.
Yep, that will be awesome. And social media coordinator, there's also a lot of minutia in that. As for what I was saying earlier, it can be something we know is very important and we do our best. But if we had somebody who could give it a more dedicated and outlined approach, that's going to help us a ton. And also helps me a ton, just because then I can go and start setting up animations. I can start setting up tools that put out content, and then we know we're handing it off to somebody who can actually get it out there, post it, respond to people who write about it, you know, and different things like that. So that would be some of those things, you know, if we have somebody who's in those roles and doing a lot, it unlocks other things that we're capable of doing as well. So that's some of the excitement that I have around getting some volunteers in here.
And also something that, you know, we can mention is that, you know, this is a role. So this is an experience for an individual that's looking to get involved with communities like this. So not only is it contributing to us, but this, you know, this is a resume item as well. So we think that, you know, especially as we kind of grow our credibility as an organization and we become a nonprofit entity, we think that these could be really attractive to people looking to get involved in the neuromorphic space, the nonprofit space, as well as the technical space.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we will do what we can to document your efforts as a contributor and highlight them in the contributor section, highlight them on your profile, so that it's you're not just pointing and saying that you did something. We will make sure that we tangibly document it and show people that we appreciate these things that you've done and point them to that work. So that's something that is definitely true.
And it's a great introduction to the network, right? I think we can pride ourselves on having some excellent researchers and very smart people in the network, right? So this will be great exposure as well. But second the points before. Yeah.
Do we have any other items we feel like sharing? Oh, we have a couple comments. Oh no, responded.
Yeah, so there's a
we
link
did
to
get
the Open Neuromorphic Discord if you guys want to jump in if you're not already there. Sorry, Justin, you were saying something?
No worries, no worries. I was just going to mention that we also got the governance and fellowship guide online. So for users visiting the website, if they go to about governance and fellowship, they can find more information on how to get involved in the initiative process. The volunteer opportunities we outlined can also link to some of these initiatives and different things that we have out there. But if somebody has a new idea that they would like to propose, we have our information there on that. Our principles for open resources. And that's something that contributors should be familiar with and just have an understanding of. It's not like 100% strict, but it's for certain things it is. But it's not that you can't mention something that's copyrighted or something like that or proprietary. But for the content we produce will be under these resources. Code of conduct is outlined here, charter, and these documents that are very important. And it's nice to have them all collected together.
Sure. Yeah, and again, this is just a great resource if you want to get involved, right? So I think just the fact that the website is there makes it very easy to access all this information. But I also want to stress again, like, feel free to just ship a message on Discord, like reach out, see what you care about, what you find interesting, like whether you have some questions for the community. Like so there's a lot of very friendly people who are open for these kind of things. And that's exactly kind of the input that we're looking for also as a committee, right? Trying to drive these initiatives forwards. Like it should happen, by the people for the people, essentially, right? We should make sure that we create as much value as possible. So please just interact with us and let us know, and we can also guide you in that process. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are so many other initiatives that we're rolling with. Not everything is something we prepare to share just yet because it's in the pipeline. But I keep coming back to this like infrastructure strategy vision that we created, which is really for me the foundation for the next generation of open neuromorphic. Really, how we can come together around these technologies. Really, that eventually will provide a large value for society at large. So it's at the moment for us as an executive committee, it's about finding the low-hanging fruits essentially that we can deliver on here now, but also planning a bit on the longer side of things. I think the mission board is getting somewhere midterm. It's not just these immediate things we can volunteer for and solve right here, right now. But the mission board, I think, is really a key gateway into making the project sustainable, like converging. It's basically a bottom-up approach where we are as a community converging on some things, some tools that we need to solve the next challenges of neuromorphics. And the ONR, which is Danny mentioned before, I think is basically the cherry on top of that, right? Because that will legitimize some of these initiatives. And I know that's a big problem for me as a researcher, right? That writing libraries is not rewarded in the same sense that incremental papers in academia is basically. So I think now it's safe to say that we as an executive committee are starting to look a bit up against the horizon, but that there's more to come. I think there are more longer term things we want to set sail to drive this even further. Yeah, I think that was kind of the overview as I see it. I wonder, Danny and Justin, are there other things we should communicate now, or because I mean this is going to be a weekly thing, right? So
Yeah.
let's see if we
We
can
just
keep
threw
up
a
the
lot of
cadence.
we just threw a lot of information. Maybe
Yeah.
I feel I feel like we cover a lot of content. Maybe there's some other things we can save for next week or follow up town halls as well. Again, we want to emphasize if there are any comments or questions or whatever, feel free to send them through the chat or send them through Discord. Or send feel free to DM me. Actually, I'm going to send the mailing list.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
In the chat.
So there's going to be a mailing list in the chat that will keep you informed on what's happening apart from these town halls. But I think it's fair to wrap up slowly. I just want to shout out to Danny and Justin here for doing an amazing job of coordinating everything. I think it's an amazing team we've put together. And then I really enjoy the community. I just also want to take a moment to appreciate all the fantastic people there. There's so much activity, so much research. I'm learning so much to be a part of it. So it's fantastic to observe. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you on
Great,
Discord.
thank you guys.
Thanks.